Hello everyone and welcome back to Down to Earth Developments. As of right now, I have just finished Project 50 and given that it's birthed this YouTube channel and has also completely changed my entire lifestyle, which I didn't expect it to do when I first started, I thought it was only right that I made a video talking about how each of the individual rules has benefited me and how my lifestyle has changed overall since starting this challenge. So I can pass this knowledge on to you guys, so if you want to get involved and try this challenge out yourself, you know what to expect when you get towards the end. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. Okay, to start off this video, I'm going to run through the rules again quickly, just so everyone's aware of what the 7 rules of the challenge are. Now, bear in mind these things you have to do every single day in order to complete the challenge, otherwise you have to start again from day 1. The first rule is to wake up before 8 AM every single day. The second rule is to do a 1-hour morning routine with no distractions. Third rule is to read 10 pages of a non-fiction self-development book. Rule number 4 is to do 1 hour of exercise. Rule number 5 is to do 1 hour spending time on a personal project of your own choice. Rule number 6 is to eat healthily every day, which includes no alcohol, no junk food, and no fizzy drinks. And rule number 7 is to track your progress in a journal at the end of every single day and finish off the day in a motivational and positive way. Now, if I talk in general about the benefits I felt from this project, I'll split this up into mental and physical. So in terms of my mental health, I've definitely had a complete mind shift in the way that I view my time and I view my day. Every single day feels longer, and I feel like I'm able to be a lot more productive in every single day despite the number of hours in the day not changing. I wake up a lot earlier, I don't feel drowsy or unwell or demotivated every day. I get a lot done, and I feel a lot more productive and a lot more happy in myself. And given that I've just started and I'm coming up towards my final exams for university, I also do not feel the stress anywhere near as much as I expected to, and I think that's partly because of the project. If we're talking physically, my skin is a lot cleaner, I feel a lot healthier, I don't feel lethargic or drowsy when I eat, I don't eat junk food so my skin doesn't feel all oily, I feel a lot stronger, a lot fitter, and generally just a lot better. Now, this is sort of the overview of how I feel from the project. Now I'm going to break it down into the 7 rules and look at each one individually and talk about how it's benefited me and whether I'm going to keep it going after the challenge. So let's jump straight in with rule number 1. So starting off with rule number 1, which is waking up before 8 AM every single day. Is this a rule that I'm going to keep in now that I've finished the challenge? The answer is absolutely yes. Now, when I initially started the project, I was a bit worried about this rule as I felt like it was the one I was most likely to slip up on and have to start the whole thing again. Simply because I used to be used to waking up at 9:30 or 10 every single morning and going to bed around 12:01. So that sort of shift in the bedtime and waking up time was a bit of a worry to me. But having taken part in the project, I have realised that this is probably the best rule on the day, as it sets up the rest of your day for success. When I wake up early, I start the day off in a good way, and it makes me feel motivated when I wake up in the morning and also very productive. And by starting off the morning in a good way, obviously every single thing that comes after that, it's set up for success because I've already done one thing that morning and I've succeeded. So the next thing is a little bit easier and so on until we get to the end of the day. Now, I'm not going to lie and pretend that it just suddenly all worked out for me. There were definitely days where I woke up and I felt exhausted and I felt really tired and I just didn't want to get out of bed before 8. But every single day I managed it, and my waking up time is averaged between 6:30 and 7, which I think is really good and it's definitely helped me a lot. Put into perspective how long a day actually is, and it makes me feel as though the time in the day is a lot more than it used to be when I was waking up at 9:30, 10 and going to bed at 12:01. Despite the fact that the number of hours in the day haven't actually changed. So if you're looking for a way to make your days feel longer, or to feel more productive and more motivated within your day, this rule is definitely one I consider you trying out, even if you don't want to take part in the whole challenge, and just try and implement getting up early in the morning. And you should find that everything else that comes after this is a lot easier. So moving on to rule number 2, which is to follow a 1-hour morning routine with no distractions. I believe this one has 2 different sets of benefits, and it's definitely something that I'm going to keep in now the challenge is done. So the first set of benefits comes from its compounding effect with rule number 1. And it does this because, as I said about rule number 1, when you wake up early in the morning, you start your day off with a success. And given that you have to immediately follow waking up with this 1-hour morning routine, it gives you a second step into the day where you have another success. And then As I've felt throughout the challenge, it makes it easier for the rest of the day to go smoothly and feel successful. Now, I take the time in the morning to deal with any self-care needs, so taking care of my skincare and going in the shower, for example, and also meditating and dealing with my mental health. So I take this time in the morning just to focus on myself before I have to deal with any stresses or any distractions, and it sets me up feeling clean, fresh and healthy for the rest of the day. Now, the second set of benefits comes from the fact that I'm not able to use my mobile phone for this hour because no distractions. And by not being able to use my mobile phone, I'm able to wake up naturally with the daylight as your body is supposed to. And I think this really does contribute to feeling more awake throughout the day and generally being able to be more motivated and productive because I'm waking up with natural light following the regular natural process of the body rather than basically fast tracking that process by turning on artificial lights from the phones and from technology in the morning and checking notifications and trying to deal with stresses straight away. And I think these two compound effects make the morning routine such an effective part of the challenge, and it's really helped with that sort of mind shift to make the day feel longer, more motivating and more productive. So rule number 3 is quite a simple one, and it's just to read 10 pages of a non-fiction self-development book every single day. This is another rule where I'm definitely going to keep it in. And I know you're probably wondering at this point, like, are there any rules that this guy's not going to keep in after finishing this challenge? There are, and there are a few adaptations that I'm going to make a little bit later on, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Now, I've wanted to reincorporate reading for a long time into my routine, because when I was younger, I used to love reading, and it was my favourite hobby, and I used to just lose myself in books for hours. But having grown up a bit and having to focus more on my academics and the rest of life, I've found that it's sort of trickled out, and I've not been able to make the time for it, or so I felt. So when this challenge reintroduced me to reading, and it showed me that reading 10 pages a day is a really manageable thing to do, but it still has benefits, I was really grateful for the challenge for that, and it made me feel a lot better. Every single day, I set aside a small amount of time where I'm able to focus on personal development and learning something new every day that excites me and interests me. And it means that my knowledge pool is constantly growing, but it's not becoming too overwhelming as it was before when I was putting expectations on myself to be reading a book a week or a book a month. Now, with this rule, you're definitely not going to finish books quickly unless you choose to do extra reading. But what you are going to do is continuously make progress every single day, which will compound, and eventually you'll get through that first book and maybe even into your second book like I have. So moving on to rule number 4, which is to exercise for 1 hour every day. I've had mixed results from this. There's definitely been benefits and there's also been a few drawbacks. So I'm going to start off with the benefits, which are quite self-explanatory. So the first one is that by having this as part of the challenge, it's kept me accountable to going to the gym every day, which is something that I was struggling with a little before the challenge, as I recently had to take a year off from exercise in general due to some knee injuries I sustained while practicing MMA. Now, getting back into exercise has been quite hard for me, so having the requirement to go to the gym 5 days a week as part of my exercising routine and having that level of accountability has really helped me get back into exercise and start enjoying it again. Also, I have seen significant progress in my lifts, which I'll bring up on screen now, my changes from the beginning and end to the challenge for my bench press, my deadlift and my squat. Now, my squat is still lagging behind a little bit, but there's still been significant progress. My bench press has exceeded the maximum weight it ever has, which I'm really happy about. And my deadlift is back on its way up to my maximum before I got injured, which was 180 kilos. Now, I'm very happy with the results that I've gotten from this challenge, and especially this rule. I feel a lot fitter. I definitely look and feel a lot stronger as well. My muscles have gotten bigger, which is my goal. And yeah, generally the exercise has been great. Now, I will say towards the end of the challenge, having to exercise on my rest days as well, I didn't allow myself to include things like walking and cycling, which may have been not the best idea, but on my days off, I would do an ab routine for 20 minutes, and then I'd also do 35 minutes or 25 minutes of foam rolling and a 10-minute stretching session, and that would be my rest days. But I think it's hindering a lot with my recovery, so having to do exercise every single day is not allowing me to train optimally. I think going forwards, I'm going to keep in doing exercise 5 days a week in my gym routine, but on my off days, I'm only going to foam roll as opposed to also stretching and doing abs, because I do abs as part of my routine anyway, sort of built in with the compound movements. So it's not really necessary, it's just accessory work. And it will also hopefully help me feel a lot less fatigued when I go to the gym and I've got adequate rest time in order to make my muscles recover to their maximum potential so that when I do go to the gym, I can lift heavier and feel stronger. So moving on to rule number 5, which is to spend 1 hour every day working on an independent project or study of your choice. My choice was to spend the time working on a YouTube channel, specifically this YouTube channel. And I love the fact that the challenges allowed me to be held accountable to something that I've always wanted to do. But before the challenge, I always had reasons and excuses that I couldn't start a YouTube channel. I wouldn't be able to start a YouTube channel because I didn't have the time, or I didn't have the energy or the resources to start. And there was always a reason to not do it. Since forcing myself to start and doing an hour every single day, I found that I really do have the time to put an hour into this YouTube channel every day. And I've been working on just getting better and better over time. Now the challenge is finished, I definitely plan to continue this and spend an hour every day, even now the challenge is done, to put into this YouTube channel and continue to make content. I love the fact that I've been able to find this YouTube channel and put the time into it, because it's actually allowed me an outlet in which I can share something that I'm enthusiastic about, something that I'm really interested in myself, and something I love to learn about. And I can take the information that I've gathered over the time that I've been learning about self-development and self-growth, and I can give back to a community that when I was younger, I spent a lot of time sort of in myself learning from other people. When I was a kid, so sort of like 15 onwards, I spent a lot of time researching self-development. I watched a lot of the bigger YouTubers to try and improve my confidence, my health, my fitness and my strength, because I wasn't in the best place back then and I wanted to get better. Now that I've spent sort of 6 years developing myself and I'm in a much better position and I know a lot more, I'm now able to come back into that same community and repay the favour in a way and give my own advice and my own experience and stories to share with other people who may be just like me when I was 15, are looking for ways to develop themselves and make themselves stronger and better. I absolutely love this, and it's made me really happy that I've been able to take part in this part of the challenge. And I'm really grateful to the challenge for incorporating this idea and allowing me to actually put myself out there on YouTube so I can share my content with other people and hopefully help other people on their own journeys. So definitely going to keep this one in now that the challenge is done. So let's just move straight on to rule number 6. So rule 6 is that you have to eat healthily every day. And the rules that they set out for you are that you're not allowed to have alcohol, no soft drinks, no junk food and no fast food. In terms of alcohol, I can't really speak much on my own personal experience within the challenge, that is, as I gave up alcohol around 19-20 months ago, and it was a very difficult process then, but that's something I'll talk about in another video. But in terms of how it's been throughout the challenge, I can't speak on my relationship with alcohol here because I haven't had one at all for a long time. But what I can speak on is unhealthy foods. Before coming into this challenge, I used to eat a lot of unhealthy food, and I told myself that it was okay because I had to do that in order to meet my caloric needs on a very tight budget. Since starting the challenge, I've realised that that's actually not the case at all, and I'm very much able to meet my caloric needs eating healthy snacks and healthy foods. And it's also allowed me to experiment a lot with different types of cooking, because something that we tried, me and my girlfriend, is to spend each week focusing on a country and cooking like the local cuisines from that country. And it's allowed me to experiment a lot with the type of foods I eat while still eating healthily. I've realised I don't need to rely on chocolates and sweets and snacks in order to get my calories. And I've also become a bit better at home baking as well, because I've spent time making protein snacks from natural ingredients for myself. And these have sort of been my snacks to carry me through and give me the extra calories that I need in the day. In terms of the benefits I've felt from this, I feel a lot cleaner. My skin is not oily like it used to be. It's very sort of clean and it's nice and well moisturised. My stomach doesn't feel sort of knotted and tight. My insides feel healthy. I feel more awake and less lethargic throughout the day. I don't fall into a food coma every time I have lunch or dinner because I've eaten such unhealthy, greasy foods. And I just generally feel a lot better and a lot more productive. And I think it's contributed a lot to that feeling of productivity and that feeling of activeness that I spoke about in Rule 1 and Rule 2. Now, is this something that I'm going to keep in? I'm not going to keep it in exactly as it is, because what I found towards the end especially is that I could feel my cravings for junk foods and chocolates and sweets coming on very strong, and it started to disrupt my day a bit, and it made the challenge very difficult towards the end. As an adaptation, what I'm going to do is keep this rule in, but I'm going to allow myself within sort of very tight limits to snack and have like chocolate, sweets, etc. But the frequency at which I can have them is going to be highly limited, because I know that I can operate on none, which means if I operate on a very small amount, it will make this sort of food challenge much more sustainable, and it will also therefore keep me healthy in the long run. that's all my plan with how the food section of this is going to go. Like I said, I can't speak on the alcohol experience because I'm sober, so yeah, there's not really much I can say in terms of the challenge and its effects on my alcohol relationship. But yeah, that's how I feel in terms of the food and the healthiness that I have felt from it. So let's move on to rule number 7, the final rule. So rule number 7 is that every evening before you go to bed, you need to journal about your experience of the challenge in that day. So from my own experience, like, I gotta be honest, I didn't really enjoy this part of the challenge much. Like, I felt the journaling didn't really add anything to my day. If anything, it just made it stressful at night that I would have to sort of get up out of bed and go find my journal and start writing things down. And I didn't really gain any benefits from this part of the challenge. Now, that is my own experience, so it could be different for you, and I do recommend that if you take part in the challenge, you try it out, because I know that some people get a lot of benefits from journaling. I guess I'm just not one of those people. So I'm not planning on keeping this rule in at all now the challenge is done. Like, I'm going to scrap it literally today. I don't want to do it anymore. It's not helping me in any way, so I'm not going to keep it in. I think that's what's important to pay attention to when you're working through this challenge and you're coming towards the end, is which of these rules, which of these factors have actually helped you and which ones haven't. Because putting energy into the ones that aren't really benefiting you much, it's not really worth it, and you could better apply your energy elsewhere, which is what I'm going to do. So yeah, with the journaling, it wasn't that great for me. It just sort of added a bit of inconvenience towards the end of the day, and I'm not overall very excited about this rule at all, and it will be going immediately, as I just said. So yeah, that has been my experience with journaling. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that. So this video has been a way for me to explain some of the benefits and some of the drawbacks that I felt with the 50-day project. I do want to say now that these benefits and negatives are things that have affected me directly, and it may be the case that your experience is completely different. So don't take everything I've said to heart, and do understand that some of the things I've said may not apply to you, and some things that I haven't even mentioned may come up for you when taking part in this challenge if you do take part. If you're interested in knowing how you may feel a couple of weeks into the challenge, I recommend you check out my first video, which should come up in the cards around now. And do bear in mind, it's probably not as good quality as this video, but it's still, you'll get to know a bit more about my experience during the challenge as opposed to just at the end. So for everyone who has watched, I appreciate you all. Thank you very much. If you could leave a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And also drop me a comment and let me know if you're taking part in the challenge. And if you are, how is it going for you? And if you finished it already, how did you find the experience? I'd like to know. So thank you everyone for watching. I will see you in the next video. Have a great week. Goodbye.